Okay, how do we communicate with flying monkeys who feel that we are to be blamed and shamed for the failed marriage? So we are blamed and shamed for the failed marriage. This actually goes back to what I had said earlier about the about communicating with the ex, right? So we don't need to communicate. We don't need to communicate with flying monkeys. No, I'm gonna dive in a little bit. I know it's not always that straightforward. And actually this week, I think it's on Tuesday, I have a conversation with Tanya Gom where we talk about communicating effectively with people in our lives. So I'm gonna talk about what happens with isolation. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier with being isolated. And this process of healing from an abusive relationship can be very isolating because not only are we cutting out this person, oh, awesome, Lisa, yeah, Lisa knows Tanya Gom. Not only are we removing ourselves from this person, so if it was a relationship or a marriage or a long-term partnership, now you've lost this really big thing in your life, right? But now when we go no contact, of course, quite often we are encouraged to go no contact with all the people that are connected with that abusive person. And I highly recommend that as well. And I went through that process. But what happens when we do that is that now we've like shrunk our circle even smaller. So there's a couple different things. One, and this is something that Tanya and I talk about, so do listen to that episode coming up this week. So I don't think it's released yet. But so one of the things is that we can allow some grace for the people in our lives to catch up to us. Because as we were talking about earlier, right, we've gotten the freaking PhD in narcissism or whatever with all the researching that we've done. We understand, we know the term flying monkeys, first of all. We know all these different things, right? And so the people that are in our lives may not have caught up yet. And I would really encourage you to find the one or two people in your life, as many as you have, of course, but find the people in your life that you can really share your experiences with and get the support that you need from them. Other than being public, in my personal life, I actually still don't talk about my ex and my experiences with him, past or present, because I share custody with him, with people in my life. Because the vast majority of people simply do not understand. They're not going to be able to give you the kind of support or validation that you're looking for. And you are very prone to having these kinds of responses of, there were some that I got via email, but that are like, well, it's your fault, or you deserve that, or even something kind of benign, like, oh, there's two sides to every story. Right, so that was one that I heard a lot. Yeah, there's two sides. There's the abusive one, and then there's the not abusive one. But when they say things like that, they're really dismissing your experience, and they are responding from a place of the average divorce, right? Sort of the typical divorce can be high conflict, can get very contentious, people are upset, all that kind of stuff, but you're not dealing with a manipulative, toxic person. And it's very different when you are dealing with a manipulative, toxic person. The process and your experience is very different from sort of your standard two people who are just angry with each other, having issues. So not sharing your story with people that are in your circle, and then, or the judge telling you, hope you become a better person. Oh, Karen, I just had that recently. I was lectured by the judge at my most recent court appointment. Yeah, you will get lectured by all kinds of things from people, from the judges, from lawyers. I no longer use a lawyer because, anyways, that's a whole nother story, right? But people don't understand, and there's a lot of secondary abuse or secondary victimization that happens from all these people in your life. It goes back to being really grounded in your own truth. You know what you know what actions you need to take, and then you take them. And it is difficult, Joe, because people are looking at you like, why are you making the choices that you're making, right? And it can be very isolating. You do not need to explain yourself to them. When it comes to flying monkeys, if someone says something like that to me, where they're trying to put the blame on me or they're whatever it is, to myself, I don't say this out loud, to myself, I say, thank you so much. You have just shown me who you are. You have just shown me that you are someone that I can't be vulnerable with. And now I know not to reach out to you. So one of the best things that you can do for yourself is to really move into a space of sort of active listening in your life and observing and noticing and moving very slowly. Those are the three things. If you're taking notes, I would write these three things down. These are sort of the basics for really being able to release some of these people in your life. To sit back and be an observer, to implement active listening, and to be really grounded in your own truth, right? So you listen to what people are saying, and most people love to talk. So if you move into active listening, you will suddenly get so much information about people and what they believe and how they can support you and whether or not they can support you. So you move into that space of listening, and then you know who you can trust and who you can't. Just recently, I was sharing, as I mentioned, I had a court appointment with my ex regarding custody this past summer. And I don't talk to many people except publicly to the whole world. But in my private life, I don't talk to very many people about it. And it came up in passing. And I shared some brief details like, oh yeah, my ex is saying this and we have to go to court. And I kind of moved on. And the person that I was sharing with sort of stopped and goes, oh, he sounds like a narcissist, right? I wasn't trying to get support from this person. We were just conversing casually. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. Now I know that you're someone I can trust. And I can say, yes, he is a narcissist. And yes, let me turn to you for support. Okay. So flying monkeys, if they're trying to shame you, blame you, say all those things, it's the same thing as with the ex. Just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. You don't need to defend yourself. And you do want to distance yourself from those people. You may not be able to go no contact. I saw some comments fluttering up here in the thing about it maybe being your children. Your ex is turning your children into flying monkeys. It may be your family, your parents that you're not quite ready to cut out of your life, or people that you may never choose to cut out of your life, right? So you may choose to have them around, but you want to distance yourself. You want to move them into that sort of superficial relationship, and you don't have to defend yourself. I think that was a third thing earlier. I said, yeah, be grounded in your truth. And part of being grounded in your truth is you don't have to defend yourself. So if they're saying these things, you may not be able to change their mind, and that's really painful. It's really painful when you know that people believe certain things about you, and that is unfortunately sort of the ramifications of being with these kinds of toxic people or having them in your life. But you can be grounded in who you are and know that you don't have to take them on. All right, I'm going to pause briefly. There's a lot of stuff going on in the chat, so I'm going to look at that for a second. And then we had 2 more questions and emails that I'm going to answer very quickly. And then I'm going to share something that I have for those of you that are here. I'm not going to read through all the messages because there was quite a few, but let me just see if there was any questions in there. So much grieving. I lost 9 people when I refused to be around abuse anymore. It can be like mourning loved ones as they were lost in a small plane crash together all at once. Oh, that's such a great comparison, such a great metaphor, Lisa. Thank you. At first, the internalized voice of my abuser told me I had blown up my own life. No, we must learn to put the responsibility where it belongs. Yes. This goes back to what I mentioned earlier, is that there is a grieving process, and it's okay to acknowledge to yourself, yes, I am isolated. Yes, I am sad. Yes, I'm lonely. But here's a really important message I want to share with you. It actually just came up in one of my groups this morning, but this is something that one of my clients said to me. She said, there's so many, what did she say? There's so many amazing people coming into my life. It's like a miracle. So here's the thing, y'all. Here's the message that I want you all to walk away from with. We're talking a lot about toxic people in our lives and flying monkeys and going no contact and all that stuff, and how it's isolating. Grieve that isolation, yes. Here's the beautiful part. If you are strong in releasing those negative people in your life, I'm going to talk about physics for a minute, okay? When there is a void in physics, when there's a void, it gets filled. Like that is literally how energy works. It's how our planet operates, okay? When there's a void, it gets filled. So if your life is full of toxic people, there's no emptiness, there's no voids, there is no goodness coming into your life. So you might be like, I want a better relationship, I want more love, I want more joy, I want more friends, but your life is completely filled. I'm having a chemistry metaphor in my mind that I don't know how many people can relate to this. But like in chemistry, you have a molecule and you have like protons and neutrons that are circling around that molecule. And you can only have each molecule can only have like a certain number of protons and neutrons. And when those spots are filled, there's no room for any more. And when the spot gets removed, then it gets filled up with another one. I don't know if anyone relates to that, but anyways, it's like that. So if your life is filled with negative people, there is no room for the positive stuff that you want. When you go through this shedding process, or this like plane crash, like Lisa mentioned, I'm gonna say shedding. When you go through this shedding process and you're releasing all these negative people in your life, now all of a sudden there's a void. And now you get to choose. Are you gonna fill that void with more negativity? Or are you gonna fill that void with that positive people that you want in your life? That void will get filled one way or the other. And if you're still in sort of looping in these different cycles that we've been talking about, if you haven't shown the light on yourself to understand what was the reason that I chose these people in my life, what is going on for me that I am allowing these people in my life, if you haven't asked that question, then you might allow more negative people to come into your life. When you start asking that question of what am I needing from these people? Why am I having them in my life? And you're able to start resolving that. Now you've got room for the positive people that you want to come into your life to come in, and they will, if you do the work. So the work is releasing the negative, understanding what your role is, finding that root cause and healing it and resolving it. And again, staying grounded in what you want, what you know to be true, and then allowing those new people to come into your life. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients come to me and they're like, you told me this would happen, but I didn't believe you, and now it's happening. It does happen, but it takes a little time. It's not like overnight. And that space in between, I call it the in-between, when you're like, you've let go of the negative people and you're still waiting for the new people to come into your life, and you're like, holy shit, I'm all alone. That's where you want to really give yourself grace and love and trust, right? And trust that that space is going to get filled with the positive people. Okay, really quickly in the chat here. Yeah, thank you. Someone shared compassion for my experience in court. Yeah, courts are a major source of secondary trauma. Yes. I've got some love the metaphor, love the physics analogies. Okay. It only feels isolating if we're trying to fit into an environment that has never been our true vibe. It becomes solitary and solitude rather than loneliness. That's beautiful. That's from iPhone. I don't know who that is. That's beautiful. That's how I experienced it too. Thank you for sharing that so clearly. So that is one of the big shifts, is that for me, I used to always feel lonely. I think I shared that in one of the episodes where I had this feeling in my heart of like loneliness all the time. And you get to a place where you can be alone, but it's solitude, and it can actually feel good. right? And it doesn't have that loneliness about it. Okay, yeah, Karen's entering the in-between. Yes, it's part of the process, Karen. I'm looking at the comments that I got from email, and actually feel like we have really covered, these different conversations we've just had here, we've covered all of those. So awesome. Such a great conversation, just such a great place to end, with knowing that that new positivity that you want, those healthy relationships that you want, it is possible, but you do have to go through this process of releasing and of standing grounded in your truth, going through that in between, really shining the light on yourself and understanding what was causing you to make these choices and what do you need to heal within yourself so that you can have new healthy people in your life instead of continuing to attract toxic people. So if you are someone who's really committed to doing this work, then and going through those stages, like I said, it is a process. It does take commitment. I have decided, I haven't done this in over a year actually, but I have decided to open up 5 spots for clarity calls. If you are somebody who's ready to do the work, ready to move forward, but you're feeling stuck and you did not get your question answered today, I'm going to pop a scheduling link in the comment box here. And I've got room for 5 calls with people who are ready to take the steps to make these changes. So I'm going to put that in here. All right, and I'm just going to wait a few minutes so people have the opportunity for that to come through and grab that link and pop into it. If it doesn't, if they don't get all snatched up right now, then I will include that link in the email with the replay. So if you're not able to grab it, but I want people here who are here live and are really committed to making these changes to have this opportunity. I know some replay watchers, it's not that you're not committed, it's simply that you had other obligations, or it's like 2 in the morning where you are. We have people from all over the world. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you joining me today. I hope you received something that you needed out of this time together, and enjoy the rest of the series. And I'm going to stop recording, and we're just going to wait a few minutes for people to be able to grab that link out of the chat box.